going, you guys? Welcome back to the Fumble Live. We are getting into some details about the NBA bubble. We've got a lot of news to get into today, but before we do, make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and share it with your friends. Here is the Fumble Squad, my friends. You guys, I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram at Devin Howard. Chris?
It's your boy Chris. You can find me everywhere at CK2K.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Jackie Ray. You can find me on all things social media at JRay the Fanatic.
Happy Sports Day, everyone. I'm Britt Johnson. You can follow me on all social media. I am Britt Johnson. Yes, guys, today is Sports Day, June 17th, which means the day that they have the most historic events that have ever happened in sports on this day, including Kobe Bryant winning his final championship 10 years ago. So happy Sports Day, guys.
Happy
Quarantine
Sports
edition.
Day.
Yeah. This is probably June 17th that has had no historic events happen.
Right.
So. It's also the anniversary of the OJ chase, so big day.
Yeah, that was also Knicks in the finals. Knicks in the finals too. Just want to point that out against the Houston Rockets.
All right,
congratulations.
You guys, coming up, need to know news. Yes, we are talking about the NBA bubble. Some new details have emerged about what that's going to be like for the players, and there were a lot of shots taken at various athletes in the league and the whole concept of it altogether. I'm excited to get into that. We're also talking about some plans, some little plan that Kyrie might be cooking up, getting into that a bit. And then finally, we have Donald Trump versus FIFA. I'll fill you in on the details on that towards the end of Need to Know News. But Chris, what's coming up for you in the post-up?
Joel Embiid he's celebrating something that a lot of us normally celebrate when we're in our teen years, and he's very excited about it. And we're going to talk about what he is celebrating. We are going to talk a bit more about the whole Kyrie Irving situation as well on post up. I got Tom Brady in his new jersey, and I'm going to care less about it, but I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about it. And we're also going to end off with Lou Williams dropping some facts and making me think. And I'm wondering if it's going to make you guys think, too. That's it for Post Up.
All right. And then, Jackie, what can we expect out of What We Not Gonna Do?
What we not going to do is accept fake-ass apologies. Y'all know the routine. That's what we not going to do, so we're going to talk about that. But we also not going to be mad at people who change their mind, because this quarantine time is kind of weird for all of us. So you can change your mind about some things. So we'll talk about that, too.
Okay, and then Britt, do you want to give us any hints for what's coming up in Britt's takes?
Oh, there's some crazy consequences if something were to happen in sports, so I'll be getting into that. I do want to really quick clear my name, because yesterday I said Joe Burrow. I meant to say Trevor Lawrence, so I do not know. Joe Burrow did not help change the face of the NCAA now. That is Trevor Lawrence, so I wanted to make sure I gave him his props, because sometimes I just be talking and names just start coming off, and I said the wrong name, so I wanted to clear that up right now.
Yeah, you have me having like Tourette's. I was like, "What? Joe Burrow?
What am I talking about?"
It happened to
I messed up yesterday. I messed up.
And you
That's
guys,
okay. He messed up a long time ago, so.
Right where we finished up with our live call, Britt went, I said the wrong name. So she recognized it right away, you guys. So you cleared it up at least with us. Now you've cleared it up with the Fumble fan.
I'm sorry, Fumble fans. I love you guys.
On that note, you guys, let's get into this news about the NBA bubble. So new details have come out about what life will be like inside the NBA bubble at the Disney World Resort in Orlando. So there's a daily schedule that includes the a.m. team breakfast, 10 a.m. shoot-around with virtual media availability for 2 to 3 players. They get downtime at 1:30 and then court access at 5. So it's very scheduled. They are planning on providing different amenities and entertainment for the players, including a players-only gaming lounge, pools, trailers, manicurists, pedicurists, movie screenings, DJ sets, ping pong, pool, lawn games, live comedy, and Disney park attractions. Players will also be able to attend other games. I know we were talking about that before, so hopefully they won't have to pump sound into the stadiums. Hotels have also been assigned based on seeding, and people found that really, really funny. So the top seeds are staying at the Grand Destino, which is like the nicest hotel available, while the lower seed teams will be staying at the Yacht Club, which has terrible reviews. And so people were reacting. What was that, Britt?
The Motel 6, girl.
Yeah. I mean, the reviews on Yelp are not good, so I feel really bad for the teams that are staying there. We have a lot of Twitter reactions, so I just feel like I need to intro this part of my segment as welcome to the Post Up with your girl, Devin, Quarantine Edition.
Oh, no, she done hijacked your whole thing, Chris.
Damn.
I need you to feel some type of way about that.
I'm waiting for. Let me see how this looks out. Let me see how this turns out. Let's see how this turns out. Go ahead, Devin.
So much pressure. I was also about to say with you, girl, Chris, but I realized that's not my name. So.
You don't even feel right stealing it. See, you don't even feel right stealing it. You still want to put my name. See, I get it. I understand.
So welcome to the Post Up with your girl, Devin. So here's the first reaction from Josh Hart. He joked about the difference between the Grand Destino, and he said this is hilarious and true. There's obviously these two separate photos, and the difference between the two frozen on the screen here. So I don't know if that's happening with you guys too. If it is, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to keep going on. Another person tweeted making fun of how Devin Booker would be so ashamed of his room at the Yacht Club. That says, please don't tell anyone how I live. The teams also get to customize their culinary menus, and people assumed that this would be the difference between the Lakers food and the lower seeds food. So we've got that Fire Festival cheese sandwich on the right there, and this meat dish, that's fancy meat dish on the left. There were also reports of an anonymous hotline to report potential violations of protocols in Orlando, and Kuz named that the Snitch Hotline. The Twitter world also seems to think that whole tip line was Paul's idea, and they poked fun at his expense, tweeting things like, the hotline is Chris Paul's cell number and 1-800-CALL CP3. And then they also joked about how he would likely abuse the tip line. I like this one. He's got two phones. They're just ready to call out anybody who's violating protocol. So, Chris, I want to direct my first question to you. How likely do you think will use the tip line to call out another athlete who is trying to sneak a side chick in?
Oh, look at you.
Oh,
Hey,
no.
that's the good sidebar right there. I'm actually going to talk about a little bit more on my version of the Post Up.
The real way.
But we'll see. My question is just, how it's going to be used. I think the side chick is definitely going to be one of the factors because, some of these dudes, especially when you got that many teams in there, there's going to be a lot of dudes that we probably don't even know about that are on the team and still playing that just probably can't, just live in this bubble without needing that fix of that, side chick, whatever. So, but other than that, I'm going to talk about my other opinion in my Post Up. Devin.
There you go. That's the attitude I wanted, Chris.
I killed my version of the Post Up, you guys.
Well,
we have to ask Chris. Chris, do you approve? Do you approve of Devin's
Devin
version?
did a good job. No, that was impressive. No, it was a good job. You pointed out, so it was comedic. We did it. You got some chuckles and everything. Good job. I approve. That's all you're getting.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. So there were a lot of things.
Right, that part.
Right.
Okay. So there were a lot of conversations about this poll, and different parts of it seemed kind of weird. So, Britt, I want to ask you, what do you feel is the most bizarre thing about the bubble? Is there anything that strikes you as strange?
Really just the hotline. Obviously, I think it's kind of cool that the higher seeds, at least they get something of okay, we could just stay in better hotels than everybody else. Because imagine being one of the top seeds and then you get placed in the crappy hotel. You would be like, what? Man, these other teams shouldn't even be here, So I get that they should be in the good hotels. But the snitch line is epic. And who is going to make these calls? And getting Chris Paul into the camp of the NBA saying that he's the one that's going to be calling and doing all this stuff is so hilarious. It's so weird that they even have a snitch line. Like, and I just want to know who calls. Like, I know it's going to be like anonymous or whatever, but like, a player is really going to like snitch on another player. Like, this is like, it's hilarious. And then how do you follow up? Like, does somebody immediately go to the room and like see if you have a girl there, or do they immediately like, do you have to take a picture that you saw this or this happened? Like, I don't even understand how this is actually like enforced, you know? But I think that's the weirdest part. It's super awkward and weird.
Yeah, I feel like the guys are not going to be willing to like call out each other and call this tip line to be like, oh, he's violating protocol. But I guess we'll see. Let's move on.
Kyle Kuzma will call. I feel like Kyle Kuzma will call because it's going to be one of his girlfriends that's being passed around.
Right.
It's going to be one of his exes that's being passed around.
Yo, he's gonna call Tyler Hero real closely. He's going to be watching Tyler Hero real closely. Yes, you're right.
Yep.
That's true. Tyler Hero is basically any other player who wants to date Katya Elise Henry.
That's right.
Yeah. Those two girls that are just going to be happy in the hotel room. They're going to have a VIP pass at the bubble, you guys. Like,
right. Their key card's just going to get them into every room. Like, I'm here.
Right. Match the card. They got a match for key card. It unlocks any door.
Yep.
If Devin Booker is staying at the yacht club, I guarantee Kendall Jenner is not going to be going there. Based on those reviews,
she's going to go back to Kuz. She's going back to Kuz.
Yep.
Or to go back to Ben Simmons. One of the two. Oh my God.
All right, you guys. Well, let's get into the second news story. This is all about Kyrie. So, according to Stefan Bondi of the New York Daily News, Kyrie said that the Nets should skip the NBA's restart at Disney World and start their own league. And then this was also backed up by Ryan Russillo of The Ringer. He added on to that rumor by tweeting, quote, telling other players to start their own league is not new. He's talked to teammates about it this season. Based on what I was told, KD was not as enthusiastic. So this would be obviously a pretty big development in this whole story, especially considering how Woj reported that Kyrie and Avery Bradley organized that player coalition in order to give a voice to the athletes who aren't confident about speaking up about their concerns with restarting the season. Maybe that coalition sparked the idea of an entirely new league. But now Kyrie's own teammates are calling out this news. Theo Pinson tweeted, "This is fake news, just stop." While Chris Chioza tweeted, "Y'all just making up shit about my guy now. Cut the cap, y'all getting really annoying." So let's talk about if this player-run league would really even work. Alan Hahn of ESPN Radio said that the concept would take years and financial sacrifice by players. He recalls how agents tried to do this during the 2011 lockout and realized it's a lot harder than it looks. The biggest issue would be existing contracts on the books. Kyrie signed a 4-year, $136.5 million contract with the Nets this past offseason, and he's agreed to play exclusively in the NBA, so there would be some definite legal issues with breaking off and starting your own league. Should players refuse to go to Orlando, the NBA could choose to void the current CBA, which would lock out the players. So yeah, it would just take a long time to get things going. Players all don't tip super long, extensive careers, and it'd be probably a waste of time for them to try and build this entirely new league. So, Chris, let's get to you first. People have said in the past that Kyrie doesn't come off as if he loves the game, and they wouldn't be surprised if he retires before the age of 30. With this news and everything else that we've seen going on, do you agree?
Oh yeah, I've been part of that train for a long time. I feel like, ever since that move with Boston, you could just see that like the love for the game was slowly going. But this whole thing to me, and I'm more, especially now that he's a Brooklyn Net, and he, what happened with the whole Knicks situation, whatnot. And I'm not buying that we got all of a sudden Kyrie, LeVar Ball, Irving's out here in these streets talking about making a new league, and to me that just sounds like it was very outlandish. You're even, like you just mentioned, we have other players from his team talking about that this is all BS and that he's not saying that, you're capping and stuff like that. So I don't know. But as far as the initial question, I do believe that he will retire early. I don't know if about like before 30. I can't say that, but I do believe that he is going to be one to retire early, especially if he does end up getting another chip with Kevin Durant. I think then he'll be cool with that, just knowing that he did it without LeBron James. So to answer that question, yes, I do think so.
Okay, yeah, and I'm with you. I don't necessarily see Kyrie Polar and starting his own league. That doesn't seem likely. It seems like it would be a big commitment. So I'm with you on that one. Jackie, can you see this whole new player-run league happening? Do you think it would be a good idea? Do you feel like it would work? I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I mean, in theory, in a parallel universe, I think it's a great idea. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But yeah, I think in theory, we said that before, there'd be pros and cons to having a player-run league, namely the pros it'd be run by players who know what it's like and would avoid certain things that the players find difficult now. But at the same time, have any of y'all gone to school for business? Do you know what you're doing? So I don't know if it would be, a thing. I think, it's just conjecture and it's fun to do. But yeah, no, Kyrie, I don't actually think he's gone from flat earth to thinking I don't think he said it personally. I mean, and if he did, then I just have to put that in another hash mark for come on, Kyrie. But I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt on this one. I don't actually believe he said this one at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. Britt, is there anything that you would like to add? Any opinions that you want to drop before we move on?
Nope, I'm good. I will be talking more about some of this stuff in my Brit's take.
Okay.
Chat, there's the hint. Chat, write that down, chat.
There's the one hint you guys get.
That's why I didn't want to ask you any questions, because I knew we're going to be hearing your opinion later on in the show. So you guys stay tuned for that in Brit's Takes. And now let's get into this final story, Trump versus FIFA. So FIFA apparently is not going to be intimidated by Donald Trump. The organization called for tolerance, mutual respect, and common sense when asked about Trump's comments regarding players kneeling during the national anthem. This all comes after FIFA appealed their rule and said that players couldn't kneel during the anthem. Trump tweeted that he would not watch soccer if players were allowed to take a knee, like as if any of us care if Trump's watching. FIFA responded to that saying, quote, FIFA strongly advocates for tolerance, mutual respect, and common sense when such important matters are debated. FIFA has a zero-tolerance approach to incidents of all forms of discrimination in football, as outlined in the FIFA statutes. We must all say no to racism and no to violence. So pretty significant, because Trump and FIFA President Giannis Infantino have been friendly in the past. So I think it's important to recognize that FIFA is taking a stand against somebody who already has a personal relationship with the president. And I do love that they appealed their no-kneel rule. I think it's great that they're taking a stand. But it also does feel a little bit hypocritical, considering that it was only a few years ago when they decided they had a zero tolerance to taking a knee, as opposed to their current tolerance approach to incidents of discrimination. But this is something that we keep talking about with various leagues who are coming out with these statements in support of kneeling and in support of being anti-racist. So Jackie, I know that you've been skeptical of statements coming from leagues about this kind of thing. So where do you stand on FIFA and their response to Trump?
Oh, I'm not skeptical. I flat out don't believe it. I believe that it's just a response to the current social trend. I don't think, 100%. I know that, Britt's more optimistic and says people can learn. But the thing is there's legit nothing to learn right now. We've been saying the same thing time and time again. And if you refuse to open your eyes then, I'm not giving you credit for pretending to open them now. So no, I'm not skeptical. I feel like it's just 100% a move to stay socially relevant. And that's it. And that's all. So they get no credit from me. I mean, I'm sure at the same time, once Trump tweets about you, I think everyone kind of mutually has a disdain for that man. So yeah, they're probably resolved in their attempt to piss him off. But as far as their whole, we don't want to discriminate. Yeah, that ship sailed a long time ago. So they get no praise from me.
Right. Okay, so Britt, I want to go to you on this one. Do you feel like FIFA's response is better than what we've seen from other leagues? Do you think that other sports should take notes, or how do you feel about it?
I think FIFA should take their own notes, because if they want to talk about discrimination, they have a huge gender pay gap discrimination that we just went to court over and did not and won the case back in March. So until they want to pay women their equal pay, in the sport, then they don't know about any kind of discrimination at all. Because right now they're just jumping on this because it is a thing and everybody's jumping on it. But you guys have a big issue with how you pay the women compared to how you pay the men when the women are bringing in bigger revenue as far as the U.S. women's national team is concerned, but they're getting paid way less than the men's national team, who, by the way, has not been to the World Cup in the last 2 World Cups and has only won a 3rd place, and that was back in 1935. So until that is taken care of, I don't want to hear them talk about any other kind of discrimination or what against when they are very discriminatory in their own leagues. So yeah, that's all I have to say about them. They need to fix their own problems before they start trying to point fingers, and they need to actually finally take their own advice in this situation.
That's right.
I love
They won't
that.
because it's not sincere.
They 100% won't.
It is not sincere, so they won't.
I know, it sucks. Okay, well, so Chris, I think I know what you're going to say with this one, but my question is, do you think that FIFA will follow through with what they say, or is this just a quick reaction to the current state of the world and it won't hold much weight in the future?
It'll be like a LeBron James jab step type of follow through. Like, it'll be one of those things like, while we're paying attention, you'll see it, but then the minute all of this goes away, and they ain't gonna follow through with this. Like, yeah, the FIFA has been, and I do like soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. I've been a fan, but the thing is, all around, from not even just here, overseas, all around the sport, it's been a very, very, very racist sport, from fan bases and stuff like that, and players and everything are trying to fight against that, and the league, it never listens and never tries to do anything about it. And I feel like, if anything, like this Trump thing, to me, the only reason why he's speaking out on something like this is because he thought, like you said, Devin, you thought he was good pals with the owner of FIFA, and then all of a sudden now this is coming out and he's just like, whoa, this is not, this is not what we talk about, this is not how we feel about these kind of things, what are you doing? So I miss me with this. I think that this is all for, because to them it is a perfect opportunity to try and get some fans back with that. And no, I'm not buying this for a second, not even a little bit.
Yeah. It sucks that these statements have to seem so insincere. Like, I'm so ready for real change to happen. I know we all are. I don't know what it's going to take to get there, but hopefully it happens eventually. Now, Chris, I know you have a lot to live up now, considering I just really killed it with my version.
She's coming for you. Oh my
if
God.
somebody don't get Zion Williamson out of this Fumble Live, LeBron James. Welcome back to Post Up with your boy Chris Quarantine Edition. All right, this little rookie over here trying to come over here and be like, "Oh, it's my league, I'm Zion." No, okay, Post Up belongs to me. All right. No, you did do a good job. I'll give you your credit. See, look, that's my LeBron James impression. Like, I know this is mine.
Take your spot. Don't let the rookie take your spot.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Anyway. As you see in the thumbnail, you hear that, Devin? I got a thumbnail. My copy's on the thumbnail. As you see in the thumbnail, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is on the thumbnail. And yes, we're talking about Joel Embiid because he is celebrating that he finally has a license for being in the States for 9 years. We already know his story, but this is huge for him, and he's very happy about it, and we should be happy about it. It's pretty cool. It's crazy that it took 9 years for that, but I get it. He tweeted out, "After 9 years in America, I finally got my driver's license." He then went on to ask the public for some opinions on what kind of vehicle he should purchase first. He said, "I need car options. Any recommendations?" A lot of people were saying like Tesla, or saying like, "Get whatever you want, man, you're rich," and stuff like that. I saw one dude just simply give post up a tank gif because the process and the amount of times that team was tanking and he was on the team. I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, that's clever. But look, man, I got no recommendations. Get a whole truck. You guys got some recommendations for Joel Embiid, who's gonna be out there in these streets? I got nothing for him. Get someone with the top down. I don't know. There you go. Right, just get something that fits you, man. Get a whole RV, man. Do something. Do whatever you want, Joel Embiid. I expect it to
Winnebago.
Martin.
I don't think so either. I don't think so at all. Joel Embiid would not fit in
Ashton Martin.
Oh, that's
too
true.
big. Yeah. I say G-Wagon. That's my dream car. Get a G-Wagon.
That's my dream. I love a dream. Yeah, I want an Aston Martin. If he could get a Winnebago, I would love to see him in an old school, like revamped, pimped out Winnebago. That would be so
Phillied out
Joel. Yes.
process. Yeah, that's the thing too. I'm ready to see the process on his license plate. You know, like how we saw MJ with the
Yep.
trade. You know, what I'm saying, I think, or 2 trade. I think that'd be something
Or
that we see.
stick with
Anyways,
do a
congratulations,
180.
Joel.
No, do a 180.
Yo, that's
180 is
right.
his
Do
tweet
one.
now.
Oh,
Yeah.
and he's
It's in the
sticking to
tweet,
it.
Chris.
You're
How
right.
you
I
not
forgot.
see that?
Right.
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot. We haven't talked about Joel in so long. Yeah, do a
See,
180
this
and
is
be
how
F the
this is
process.
how
Now.
a rookie takes your spot when you don't even read the tweet that you had posted. Do you see?
Yeah. When's the last time we talked about Joel Embiid? Look, let me tell you. Look, I still got the thumbnail. Moving on to the next one. Okay, we're going on just a little bit, stemming on to what we did talk about earlier with Kyrie Irving. Like we were saying, you know, Bondi dropped the news that, you know, Kyrie Irving was planning on making a new team and rah. I've said my opinion. I'm not buying it. Especially then when I'm seeing, you know, teammates coming out and said something. I know some people were like, oh, of course we're getting the 2 guys at the end of the bench saying something, but at the same time, they're part of the group text, and I feel like that has a little bit more. To me, it feels a little bit more real than it speaks out, or then a DeAndre Jordan comes out, because they're the guys that should be saying something. You know, these are the guys that are out here defending Kyrie, defending their guy. They're also play the same position, stuff like that. So yeah. Chris Chioza dropped this tweet saying, responding, saying, y'all just making up ish about my guy now. Cut the cap. Y'all really getting annoying. Yeah. This whole thing to me, I found crazy. I don't remember what I was doing. Then I go on Twitter and all of a sudden I'm seeing all these people, because Stephen Bondi, somebody I follow, he does New York sports and everything. So to see this come out, my first thought was, all right, I know you favor the Knicks. So is this a real thing that you putting out here? And don't do this, because, you know, they're going to come after you. And then everyone picked it up. I'm like, oh, Lord have mercy. So I'm not buying it. I don't think Kyrie's making the league. We talked about that earlier. But the plot thickened, because apparently after this news came out, Taylor Rooks had some sources tell her some things. She tweeted out, sources tell me that Kyrie Irving never stated that the Nets should begin their own league in response to the bubble. I'm told that after that report came out, he left the group chat. Now that one I'm buying. I'm believing this. I feel like, you know, Kyrie is the kind of person that, you know, if something like this comes out and he's hurt and he feels like somebody within his circle, I don't know, said something close to whatever he was saying. Maybe it was a joke. Who knows? But he was hurt about it and he left the group chat. And now I don't know what that means. We talked about earlier in the show that Kyrie Irving just signed a pretty nice deal with the Nets. So it's not like free agent anytime soon, and I don't know if that's something that he wants to do, because he is yet to play with Kevin Durant. So I don't know where this is all coming from. This is why these kind of things stem to why I do believe Kyrie Irving is not going to have a long career, and not because of injury and not because of ability, just because I feel like these kind of things affect him so much that I feel like that he's gonna, you know, call it quits earlier rather than later. I still think he is trying to get that championship before he leaves, and if he doesn't by around 30, then he's probably gonna bounce. And I think, as much as I hate to say it, I think the team that he has right now, especially with everyone healthy, he has an opportunity to do that again. But I don't know. Kyrie Irving left the group chat, and you got boys that are in the group chat trying to defend you. This whole thing is messy. I'm still waiting to find out what's going on. I want to know if he's been contacting LeVar Ball, and if once I find out LeVar Ball was in contact with him, then I'll believe that this new league is actually might be a thing. But until then, I'm not buying it. The Nets right now are going through what they're going through. They're already not probably going to do much in the playoffs anyways, because all their main players are injured anyway. So I don't know.
Chris,
that being said,
going on the door?
Huh?
Can't you just knock on the door to your roommate's room and ask him what's going on?
But cell phones are so easy.
You guys have a falling
Oh,
out?
you talking about LeVar? I thought you talking about the Nets.
Yes.
Oh, see what happened was, so LeVar went Hollywood on us, man. You see, they just signed this deal with Rock Nation. Now they all fly. Now that planes are okay, they're out there and yeah, man. He don't live with me no more. So that's why I don't even know anything anymore. Just the sore subject, Britt. I don't know why you brought that up. Thanks for that.
Okay,
Anyways,
I'm sorry.
Moving on to the next thing. No, moving on to the next. Tom Brady, guys. You guys seen it already? Look at him in all his glory, in all his Tom Brady-dom. He is in his New Jersey, celebrating his TB12 Tampa Bay jersey. And here's my thing. Honestly, a lot of people are like, oh, this is so weird. I'm not used to this. I saw this, and I honestly didn't really have any feelings, because all I saw was this man wearing number 12 who was on a team that I don't like, going to a team that I don't like even more. So it don't look much different to me. I still hate it. Doesn't matter what jersey he puts on, I'm gonna hate it. Even if he put on a Saints jersey, I would hate it. So I have no problem.
Oh yeah,
with what's going on.
I'd be out now. Is his
Easy,
skin
easy.
Photoshop?
No,
you
you know
think
he
it's
got
a
his
tan?
spray tan.
I thought they phoned it and
you
tried
know
to make
Tom
him
Brady.
look like he was down. Like look, I'm
Nah,
out here
he
getting
knew
dark
this
now.
was a photo shoot.
Yeah, he
Nah,
got
this is
that
Brady. You out there
Florida
getting
tan.
right.
It looks
Nah,
like that Agent
so
Orange tan. That's what it looks like.
Spray tan.
Agent Orange. I love
Let me
that
find
you
out
call
Tom
it
Brady
Agent
ever
Orange.
gets.
I don't know. I hate it. Whatever. He's a Buccaneer now. I still don't care. They're still gonna suck. Mark my words on that
Boo.
one. Moving on to the Snitch Hotline. I love that is what is being picked up as the name of this because I think that is the perfect name. We talked about it earlier on in the show, but we have some reactions and it's turning into a whole meme. We saw some of the responses in Devin's post. Almost post up. I'm gonna call it Devin's pump fake. That's what we're gonna call it. In her section, we saw some of the responses there. But I also have one here because the first thing I thought of was exactly what this tweet said. I went straight to LeBron James. When LeBron James there's a tweet talking about the hotline, but there's a tweet that is going up with a picture of LeBron James on the phone, and the tweet says, "Yes, it was Giannis and Kawhi out with no masks." Yeah, I'm certain of it. Yeah, 100%. I think that's hilarious.
Now, why the hell? Stop it.
I was
right now.
That's the first thing I thought.
Stop it right now.
Yes, I was like, yo, people are going to abuse it. I didn't even go straight to LeBron James, but when I saw this one, I'm like, yeah. And there's other people talking about spelling it out. They're like, that's G-I-A. Yeah, Giannis, right. Yes, him. But my favorite one
is he going to spell out Antetokounmpo? That's what I want to know. Is he going to spell
that
out, or is he just stopping at Giannis?
But my favorite one of all time comes from my homie CP over at Knicks Fan TV. Was this one?
No, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
And even though he's not on any of the playoff teams, this one had me rolling.
That's accurate.
It's perfect. He's not even there. He's not even in Orlando, and he's still gonna get phone calls from D'Angelo Russell. Just like, I heard he did it.
I figured D'Angelo would be the one that's answering.
You snitched on your own
D-Lo's on the other side.
Your own team. I figured he would a sidekick, my guy.
I just figured he'd be the one that's manning the phone. Like he's the one taking the calls. Like D'Angelo Russell here. How can I snitch you? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I feel.
It's gonna be a tag team of him and KD. They got it. Like he'll be taking the calls, and then KD will be dropping out the tweets from all of his ghost accounts
from his burner.
Yeah, right.
But then he'll forget and he'll do it from his real account and be like, whoopsie.
Damn. That was me. Anyways, moving on to last but not least, Lou Williams has some questions, and this is sticking with the bubble. And he has some very solid questions because the NBA dropped a memo talking about the rules as far as, the social distancing and stuff like that outside of gameplay. They dropped this memo right here that said players will have the option to wear a proximity alarm that will notify a player if he spends more than 5 seconds within 6 feet of another person on campus who is also wearing an alarm. Now, outside of this just sounding absolutely ridiculous, because my brain just went straight to like they're getting like an ankle alarm, like they in prison or something like that, or they on house arrest. Lou Williams brings up a good point because he's like, he tweeted this. He said, so on court, no rules. Off court, stay 6 feet away. Inside the bubble. Am I reading this right? And he's right because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's not to the extent of football like Britt talked about in her Brit Steak a few days ago. But it is a very similar thing. Like I understand that you're trying to keep it under control as much as possible, but you can't play defense 6 feet apart. I mean, unless you're guarding Ben Simmons from the 3-point line, but you can't really play defense from 6 feet apart. So I don't know. Just Lou Williams onto something here. I don't know if you're going to get any answers, Lou, because I think that's just the way it's going to be if basketball is going to be back. With his answers, though, Brett, I'm going to come to you with how he's been tweeting as of late. Are you a little worried that Lou Will might be one of the names that decides to not actually come and play come the end of July?
Not my sixth man of the year. I'm never worried about Lou Williams. He's going to be okay. He's just trying to make sure that these rules ain't getting twisted because we have a story coming out later today where I kind of break down the rules a little bit more. And I just want something to you guys because this is also in the rule book really quick. The players are not allowed while they're playing. Now, this is what's happening on the court. They cannot spit or clear their noses, wipe the ball with their jerseys, lick their hands, or touch their mouths unnecessarily. Well, have you guys ever seen a basketball game? What do they do?
Right.
Lick their hands, put it on the bottom of their feet. They wipe the ball with their jerseys all the time. This is like something think of doing that they do. So you're telling me in the next month they're going to have to retrain basketball players how to basically not play basketball? Like, that is the craziest thing, and that's something that can't even happen. So their rules kind of are almost crazier than the NFL rules, because you can't just like lick their hands or like wipe the ball with their jersey and stuff. That's going to happen, and that's like
it's going to happen, right?
This moment, like, it's in freaking insane, and it's literally they can get punished with fines and all of this kind of stuff for doing that stuff. So it's gonna be like it's almost like, should we even
now hearing that?
That's stuff they do without even thinking, you know?
Right. That's memory. See, now hearing that now my favorite for the championship is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the Thunder about to win this whole championship because Chris Paul gonna be making sure that he calls out everybody that do any of those things. The minute somebody sneezes, Chris Paul, hey, ref,
you're right.
Oh, yeah. Chris Paul gonna be on it. So Thunder, congratulations, Oklahoma City, about to get your first championship. But all that being said, that's crazy. That's crazy. And all that being said,
put some pepper in Chris Paul's drinks.
Yeah, make him
so he starts sneezing all the time.
Oh, quick. Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, is that it?
That's it.
You don't waiting for another about that, Chris. You got something else to say?
Right.
Would you like that, Devin?
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Okay, so now we're moving into Jackie's segment. We got things ready to go. Here we go. What we not gonna do.
Oh,
I need that to be my ringtone. I need that to be my ringtone, like, for real. Okay, guys, welcome to What We. Right, so I could see people in the store going, "What should I get down? What is happening?" Anyway, so all right, you guys, what we not gonna do is pretend like people can't change their mind, especially in the state of the world that we live in right now. So we had the leader of the free world that said coronavirus was not a big deal, and then maybe drink disinfectant, but he's changed his mind. So I'm okay with Damian Lillard changing his mind too. I've gone back and forth a few times on should we play, should we not play, just because it's a lot right now. So I can appreciate Dame Dollar and his back and forth and resuming play. In an interview with ESPN, Dame said he thinks that had the NBA returned while we were just on quarantine, before the protests and all the Black Lives Matter movement started, that would have been good because we were all stuck in the house. We talked about that on the live, how we were just stuck in the house going crazy. We watched everything that we watched. Issa Rae let us down with Insecure. So we were just like needed something. So it would have been really good if the NBA had come back then. But he says now the struggle with going back is because now the league is predominantly Black. And so he feels like himself and some of the players that he has talked to are just mentally struggling because their minds and their hearts are with their people. And a lot of them feel like they should just be out there in the fight. And I get that. He also said ultimately, though, a lot of guys in the league are the sole providers for their families. And then there's a lot of guys who are like him who are also not just the sole providers for their family, but they also provide for their communities as well. Because we know that in his rookie year, he started the Respect program, which was to help kids in Portland improve attendance and graduate. And he ended up winning the NBA Cares Community Assist Award in 2018 for that. I think it was 2018. And in 2016, he rebuilt the gym at his old high school in Oakland and pretty much revitalize that whole athletic program there. So he's definitely about change. I know he supports the veterans, children with disabilities, and I just found out he does the Special Olympics too. I don't know how I missed that because I think there's actually a lot of pictures of him with kids from the Special Olympics on his Instagram. But he says that so players, going back to play, that's a good thing. Especially if they're using their funds to support Black communities and Black businesses. And so he says from that standpoint, it makes sense. He says he hopes that the country sees that the Black community is just fed up And I think that's one of his concerns, that if we go back to business as usual, maybe then the mindsets will go back to business as usual too. But he says with regards to COVID-19, he doesn't feel 100% comfortable because he just, a lot of us just don't know if it's safe yet. But he still thinks ultimately the community is what's important. He said, quote, "It is difficult to say." Well, they asked him how he feels going back now, specifically with us not knowing if this second wave is going to hit. And then, of course, the Black Lives Matter movement. And he said, "It will be difficult to say that at least a lot of our hearts are with our people. And it's hard to go out there and version of yourself as an athlete when you are not completely right personally, or something doesn't sit right with you personally. That is something that is not going to go away." I think, again, we've all talked about that. I think we've all, even right now, I think all of us have been in the fight in some way here on the Fumble Squad. So I think we can all relate to that. And I think we can relate to his struggle mentally, especially him, because we've seen him out in the protests, marching and trying to help. And we know that he has a heart for the community and giving to charity. So Britt, I know Dame is your favorite player. So before I jump to the next topic, I just want to ask you really quickly, if we see players out there, specifically, that was one of his points, that the league is predominantly Black. So if we see players out there who seem kind of distracted, or God forbid we see another, Black person be killed unjustly by police while they're in play and their minds just aren't right, is that a bad thing as fans, that we're not getting the best version of the players or we love, or is it just one of those things we have to just kind of struggle through together?
Oh, good question. I think it's very, because we have moments like this, not where it's a thing that everybody is affected, but I remember when Isaiah Thomas's sister died and he went out there, he went to the funeral back and played in the NBA playoffs. And then obviously we know the Michael Jordan situation, and there's been tons of athletes that have had like a close, very personal loss to them, and they've always kind of been expected to go out there and play. And sometimes it's like they can play through it, and it's like a moment of like, I don't know if it's like a release or a way to kind of, NBA players especially have like, they use basketball as like a way to get away and release some of their anger and problems that they have. So I think that these guys, in a sense, are almost already not trained, but they fell in love with basketball because basketball was that escape for them. So hopefully, in just that moment of them, on the court during that time, like hopefully that time is a time where they can use that, and all the energy that's going on in their head can be put out onto that court. But I think we'll see a couple players where it might, negatively affect them on the court. But I think that a lot of these basketball players have come from bad situations and been in, had to deal with this. Most of them are Black. They've had to live with this their whole entire life. So I don't know if this situation is necessarily going to negatively affect them on the court, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that I hope we don't see.
Right.
But unfortunately, I think that we will. But I also think that, to your point, it could motivate them too. Like now they're playing even harder, not only for the person that lost their life, but for, okay, we are out here. Look at us. We're out here doing our jobs, and we want to see change at the same time. So I think it can have a twofold positive impact. But I also can understand, wanting to be on the ground and help in that way. But sometimes you got to push through it, All right. So now we're going to get into, I need a fake apology sound effect. So you guys in production, I think we're going to have a lot of these going forward. So what we are not going to do is, so I try very hard not to speak about organizations I know nothing about, because I know nothing about them. So when we talked about the story earlier this week about Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy wearing One America News shirt, I had never heard of One America News, but I'm not surprised about that, because I go out of my way to not watch news from outlets that don't have people on there that look like me. So I'm not surprised by that. But I spent a lot of uncomfortable time watching their YouTube channel, and they every one of their videos has some sort of anti-Black anti-Black Lives Matter rhetoric. Every single one. So for him to say he's going to go forward and say that he doesn't know, their most recent video is like 3 different experts that are there to say Rashad Brooks deserved to die and that the killing was justified. They also had about 4 videos that were saying that the 75-year-old man that police pushed to the ground and he instantly started bleeding from his ear and not one cop stopped to help him. They said that he instigated police to do that and he deserved that as well. They have a lot of hate speech that's camouflaged as journalism. So there's no way that anyone who follows this news outlet, anyone who subscribes to their YouTube page, anyone who buys a damn shirt from this organization, no way in hell that they didn't know what they were about. So now Mike Gundy is on the flip the script campaign because, yesterday he wasn't. And now he's issued a fake apology. You guys can go to his Twitter page and see whatever he's talking about. Because it's all a lie. But he says, one of the things he says is, once I learned how the network felt about Black Lives Matter, I was disgusted and knew it was completely unacceptable to me. Okay. Again, how you just found that out yesterday or this morning or whenever you left this fake apology on your Twitter. I wish you could. Okay, I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but if we could just get this one clip up, because I think maybe if you see his face.
Black Lives Matter to me. Our players matter to me. These meetings with our team have been eye-opening and will result in positive changes for Oklahoma State football.
None of this even remotely looks believable to me. Not how he delivered it. He's clearly reading a cue card. I don't even think they had a teleprompter. I think there's literally somebody standing over there with a giant piece of cardboard with it written down. Say Black Lives Matter. It's so fake. It's infuriating. Chris, I'm going to go to you because I know you saw this whole entire apology. I need to know your first thoughts. Did it sound in a way? Because at least Roger Goodell looked at it. He looked like, man, I don't want to say none of this. At least he looked like that. Mike, did he look believable in any way, shape, form, or fashion? Do you buy it?
No, I don't buy it. Like I told you, it was just a creepy and cringy thing to watch. Like, no, I don't buy it. And yeah, like you said, I only knew so much about it. And then after Bridge Take, I looked into it more because Oklahoma State is already going through some other things too over on the basketball side too. So I'm like, dang, this too. And no, I not at all, not even in the slightest. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, that network too is like I said, they do a lot of hate speech that's camouflaged as journalism. And I don't want to discount them because they work hard because they will search high and low and find the one Black person that they can find to get on there to sound like a professional and say, no, that's Black lives don't matter. All lives matter. And they have a lot of that on there as well. So for him to know that and watch that, I don't even know, because one of the things he said was like, oh, my athletes educated me. In this social climate, and you're the head of, you're over Black kids. Isn't it your responsibility to educate yourself on things that affect your players? If you're going to honestly say your players matter to you, isn't it your responsibility to be educated on things that affect them?
If they really care, though. That's the thing. I think that's the key part. Like there's people that do it because they just want to have football and they want to win games and they want all this stuff. But then there's the coaches that, yes, do everything you just said because they're the ones that actually care about their kids and care about who they have in their program. So I think, unfortunately, there is that fine line, and I think we found out which line he's on.
Would it be appropriate for them to let him go? Or do you think that this is something that they'll just try to sweep under the rug and push forward?
Oh, man. Appropriate, yes. But then it also comes down to the same thing like we've been talking about with these apologies and all these things. It's one of those things like, but at the same time, I don't care. So, yes, I think it would be appropriate. I'm here thinking like, well, would it be doing it because they're trying to make themselves look right because of the other scandals they're going through? But at the same time, if it means that he's going and they can bring somebody else to do the job that should be doing the job, at that point, I don't care. So, yes, I think that it would be appropriate. I think it's because they already had problems with him in the first place, too. So I would be okay with it.
All right, so that's all I have for what we not gonna do, fake apology edition. Now it is time for Bridge Takes.
Bridge takes.
So much better than yesterday. Let's never do
kept
that
it OG.
again.
No more wiki.
No, we can't know with it. All right, guys. So it is time for Brit's take. So we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show about Kyrie. He's proposed sitting out for the season, and possibly, who knows if this is a thing, but he also starting a new league, supposedly. So he has actually gotten a lot of criticism, as we all know, because for one, he wasn't going to play in the first place. So why does he have such a big issue with this and wanting to stop the league or whatever the case is? Two, the NBA hasn't silenced players from protesting. So the fact they're kind of saying this, want to protest or trying to have that be what you want to do doesn't make sense. We all remember different situations. The NBA let the players do the I Can't Breathe shirts. When Donald Sterling was some racist stuff, the NBA did let go of him as an owner immediately, like before the playoffs even started that same season. It wasn't a thing that they sat with for months or a year, did a whole trial about. They immediately let him go. So the NBA has kind of been more progressive in these situations. So it's interesting to even hear Kyrie say like, oh, I want to do this so I can protest, because your right to protest has never been taken away from you in the NBA. Like, obviously, NFL is a different animal, but in the NBA, you've been able to speak. So what is your thing? And another thing that Matt Barnes made a good point about is Kyrie doesn't have a game plan as well. Like, if you want to come up with a list of demands saying to the owners or whatever that, hey, if you guys don't do this, not going to play kind of thing, that's one thing. But there's no game plan. It's just like, oh, let's just not protest and then, or let's just not play, and then so we could just protest on the streets again or whatever. There's no actual game plan for this, or there's nothing that you actually want the league to do that you've come up with to tell them to do in order for you guys to play. So there's some issues with that. I do want to point out, I do understand, yes, the NBA is a lot more progressive than all of the other leagues, but there are still some issues. And I do want to point that out before I continue on, because I do want to make it clear that I do understand part of the reason why, and we do need to bring to light that the NBA isn't perfect either, because there are only 8 NBA head coaches that are Black out of 30. And across all leagues, which is interesting, all of the major 4 leagues, there's a total of 122 teams, and there is only one majority owner that is Black out of 122 teams. And obviously that is Michael Jordan. Obviously we have people like Will and Jada Pinkett Smith and Kevin Hart, who are minority owners for the Sixers. And then we have Usher, who is part owner of the Cavs. And then obviously we know Jay-Z sold his stake in the Nets, so he has no ownership in the Nets anymore. So in the NBA, there's only 2 other groups of people that are even minority owners of all the 30 NBA teams. So there are definitely still some issues across the board in that perspective. So I do understand what they're saying, but they also don't have a game plan for what they're saying. So this is like what Kyrie is suggesting, and what could possibly happen is actually a place where we're going to get to a point where it's going to be damaged beyond repair. And let me explain this to you. The NBA has a CBA, just like every other league does. They have a very good CBA that there's Oscar Robinson being one of the biggest forces in it, that's created a whole new platform for the CBA, where he got rid of basically players used to be owned by the teams their whole career. They didn't have a thing as free agency. Basically, not even 25 years ago or 20 years ago at this point, the NBA even had a player that made over $100 million, like in a contract. So we're seeing a total different change, led by guys like Oscar Robinson and other players who have made NBA, CBA very good, to where there's a bunch of no-name players and crappy players that are still making $10 to $15 million a season. But if the players decide to sit out this season, that doesn't just affect this season, and that does not just affect their paycheck for this season. That affects the entire CBA. If they sit out, because the NBA and the NBA or the NBPA already agreed upon these terms to play in this bubble, if the players decide to sit out, they actually get a ripped up CBA agreement. The CBA agreement becomes not valid any longer. What that means is now the league, who are, because the season wasn't played and the rest of the season wasn't played, can go to their next CBA sit down when they have to now renegotiate a whole new deal because the CBA was ripped up by the owners because the players did not basically stand to they breached the contract. We talked a lot about that with Zion Williamson and stuff. You can't be breaching contracts like that. Because the players breached that contract, the CBA becomes not valid anymore. So now everything and all the years that all these players that worked on creating new things and free agencies and all that stuff and all these big salaries you see, that goes out the window because now owners can go to the board and say, okay, well, actually, we didn't really make a lot of money this year. All our revenue was gone. And the playoffs where we make the biggest chunk of TV money and stuff, well, we didn't have those. So actually, we make this amount of money now. So we're only going to be able to pay you guys this amount of money, which is not going to be close to what their contracts are. All these people that you know have signed deals that for the next 3 or 4 years, those are all voided contracts because this was broken up. Like everything is gone if these players do not play in this playoff thing. Like everything is gone. And I don't think I think some of them, like LeBron James, which I think is why LeBron James is one of the top people that is deciding we need to play this because he understands the bigger picture. The CBA agreements are done every 10 years. So this isn't something that's just going to affect, okay, well, maybe next year we might not get that much money. No, for the next 10 years, you guys are going to now have most likely a hard salary cap. Who has a hard salary cap? The NFL. Your contracts are going to start looking a lot like NFL contracts. You guys are going to be making way less money. You guys are not have the freedoms that you guys have had now because you have had players in the past that have fought for you guys to get to this point. Everything's going to go in reverse. It is the most counterproductive thing that you guys could do for the NBA. Like you, by doing this, actually give the NBA owners so much control over future CBAs because you voided the CBA by not deciding to finish out the season. That is exactly what this does. It is the most damaging thing that can in the NBA history, like honestly, because we have fought so hard, or the players have fought so hard to get to this point, and all that is going to be taken away. You guys are going to get way less money. You guys are going to you guys will have hard caps because the NBA owners would love nothing more than for you guys to have hard caps. Like it is going to change the NBA completely. And I understand why these players now are, because before I was just like, okay, so does it just affect the season? And that's all we've been talking about is, oh, now players aren't going to make enough money for the rest of the season. Or it doesn't, it's not just about this season, it's about the next 10 years and your guys' collective bargaining agreement that you guys have with the NBA being breached and now not void moving forward. So my question is kind of just going to be probably a panel question. Anyone can feel free to answer it. If you're an NBA player, what side would you be on? And do you understand, is this counterproductive basically to the movement of, because I believe the movement of Black Lives Matter and of Black people moving forward also is an economic movement. So you guys giving back the ownership to, or the money to the owners, is that more detrimental than anything? Let's start with Chris. Chris, you want to start with that?
Yeah, no, and we've had players that have been saying this. Like that's what has been like one of the biggest arguments for the season 2 be coming back, other than obviously, trying to fight for championships for teams that are, in the running for that. But that's what a lot of the players that are telling, all these other players that are thinking about not coming back is that this is a bigger picture overall. Like I think like Danny Green was like saying things like that too. So it feels like it's almost like you said, it's almost counterproductive to do that because you can still, like we've been saying all week, like you can still protest and you can still while playing games and while keeping that control that you guys have within the league, rather than completely going out and then running that risk of having to go to a hard cap. So yeah, it is very counterproductive for sure.
Yeah, Jackie, I actually wanted to ask you another separate one really quick, because I would really like to hear your opinion on it. If you were Kyrie and you're, part of this player coalition that kind of wants to not play this season. To Matt Barnes's point, do you think, and would it be more productive to have this if you came at the league with demands? Because like I said earlier, there are only, 8 head black coaches in the league, and there is only one majority black owner in the NBA. Yes, people think the NBA is so progressive because it's better than the other leagues, but it's still not equal and it's still not fair. So do you think Kyrie came with some kind of game plan that people would be more receptive to his ideas right now?
I think so. And I think, for me, you and I have talked about this. I've always said marches don't work. And this time I think the march worked not only because we were in the quarantine and people could participate, but we actually had an idea. Okay, let's defund the police. And we broke down what that means. So this is the first march we've actually had where we just weren't crying, marching, and praying. We've actually had a plan. And I think that sometimes when you just say, hey, we want to sit out, and you don't have a plan, you just look emotional, and people just can't take you seriously. So I think if he were to say, hey, we want to, and if that's his thing, like if he had demands, sitting out isn't automatically the end all be all to make those demands happen. There are other ways you can make it happen. So I think the fact that he doesn't have any demand, and the NBA, to their credit, although like we've just said, they're not equal, the NBA would at least entertain something. They would listen because they understand who they have. They understand the platform that these players are using. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sit out. If you have a clear-cut plan, if you have 10 things on your list, you can go to the NBA and I bet you'll get at least 2 just off top. And that's just how it goes. So
you can threaten to sit out, like, listen, here you go. If we don't get some of these things checked off, we're not playing. But the NBA is progressive enough to be like, y'all are playing, so let's start checking some of these things off.
Exactly.
But your point yesterday with Colin Kaepernick, like Colin Kaepernick starts this whole movement and then just leaves everybody hanging, and he doesn't have the end thing to follow up in leadership. Like, okay, Colin, what do you want us to do? Like, and
because we're just out here in the wind,
like whatever. And he hasn't been the leader now to tell us what to do. So I think you're completely right on that.
Yeah, and I think Kyrie too, with his voice, he's going to appeal to the young guys, right? The young guys are going to be like, "Oh, Kyrie said," and then they're going to get out there and be like, "What are we doing?" So I think you're 100% right on that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for such an enlightening conversation. We're going to be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Chris, I promise tomorrow with my version of stuff. If that happens, it's all you. Good luck. Go subscribe to our channel. Tap the bell for notifications. Give this video a thumbs up. Wash your hands, you guys.
Oh yeah. You can't even see. I gotta put my hands all to my face. Wait.
Bye, guys. We can leave now. We out.
Wait. Ooh, yeah. Y'all forgot again. Devin takes it to that next level every time.
I love my name still.
Britt Johnson, everybody.